Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. A few eagle eyes have actually spotted this one coming into bloom because it's tucked up the back of a shelf as close to the glass as I can get it. This is Brassocattleya Maikai. Now this is an unusual cross because it's a primary cross between Brassavola nodosa, which is pretty set in its ways. Basically, it produces the same sort of sized plant across the board and very uniform blooms. There's very little variety in the nodosa, which is why you don't see many named varieties of it. Yeah, but if you go to the other parent, which is the Cattleya bowringiana, or bowringiana if you say it that way, but you all know what I mean whichever way you say it, that's an unusual Cattleya. It's more often found as a lithophyte, so growing in rocky sort of places on the ground effectively rather than hanging in a tree like most of the orchids we have. And it is incredibly variable, both in the size of the plants, probably due to climatic conditions. I've seen some absolute monsters of that one, you know, with sort of 2.5 to 3 foot high canes, and I've also seen some quite squatty little ones as well. But the blooms are very variable, and by introducing that into this primary cross, you get a lot of variety in the resulting blooms, especially if you're obviously if you're starting from seed parents, yeah, and producing the cross each time. And that's where you find the variety, because BC Maikai has many named varieties, and it's getting that variety from the bowringiana. If you look at the plant, it's got a Brassavola look about it, but look again, it often produces bifoliate canes as well as single leafed canes. So again, that's the Cattleya trait coming into it, and the Brassavola trying to fight it off. This particular plant was a gift that actually came from Ronya, and the note I got basically said, "I'm sending you a piece," and I ended up with the whole plant. Basically along the grounds that I could probably give it better conditions as far as light are concerned, because without that it isn't going to bloom either at all or very well. This is a highlight orchid. It gets it from both parents. They're both, if you think about the Cattleya, if that's often found as a lithophyte, it's in quite open country. It's going to get some sun. It's going to get high light. It's not covered by trees a lot of the time. And Brassavola nodosa is a highlight orchid if you want to get that to bloom well. So the combination of the two means that to get a good blooming on this, which this isn't, but it's a start, you do need that high light. Apart from that, it's typical care. The Cattleya parent is quite temperature tolerant, can be found in very warm places and not so warm places. Nodosa tends to go for warmer places, so I would say it was more of a warmer grower than a cooler grower, definitely. But it's the high light that's important for this one to get this one going well. And the plant itself is starting to pick up now. There's a lot of older roots on there, some of which will have probably failed in the pot, but it is starting to produce some new roots, and it has quite a few new growths pushing on. So I think during the next growing season it's going to push on well. It should take off like a little rocket, quite honestly. So this is its first blooming for me. And I've always liked Maikai. I think the one I had before that went down with Fusarium was Maikai Mayumi, I think was the actual variety. But that one was in bloom when I got it, and it never bloomed again. It decided to die instead. But I don't think this one will. This one's on its way up in the world, shall we say. It's only got this one spike, this has got 4 blooms on, one still to open, and another smaller spike round the side here with just 2 buds on. So it's not a good blooming for this plant. Aircraft trying to take the roof off again. I'm quite close to the airport. They do come in low sometimes. Luckily they're mainly little ones. But yeah, the plant's coming on, and for a first blooming, I'll put up with that. It's a lovely little splash of colour, lovely patterning inside the lip. So coming on well, but it's relatively a strange combination of parents. But as a primary cross, you don't tend to get huge amounts of variety in a lot of primary crosses, but you do in this one because of the Cattleya parent. So many different looking blooms on a plant that's called the same. Yeah, coming on. Just a little spotlight today. Oh, nothing much going on out here apart from that. And I do have a problem at the moment. My screen on my computer's deciding to fail. It hasn't failed totally yet. And I do have a laptop now for backup if I needed it. But yeah, it's decided that it's losing some of its colour range, leaving a predominant red on the screen. So where there should be black, I've now got red. And you can imagine what that does to watching other people's orchid videos. Look at this lovely bloom. Yeah, well, not on my screen, it's not. So I've given up trying to watch other people's videos. I've ordered a new screen. I should be able to pick that up later today or tomorrow. I can get back up and running again. I suppose it actually has lasted well, that screen. You think my computer is on. I mean, it does have an auto shut off after, I think it's about 20 minutes of inactivity. It will actually shut down to sleep mode. But nonetheless, my computer's on all day, most days. You know, if I'm in, chances are the computer's on. It's not always being used. I'm not sat at the flipping thing all day long, but it does get used a lot. So I could say that it's lasted well, but nonetheless, it's decided to fail on me now, and so I have to replace it. You know, it's just the ongoing cost of kit. But again, I look at that as coming out of the YouTube money. I need the computer to keep the YouTube channel going and the Facebook stuff. So, you know, it's a tool of the trade. It's got to be done. So anyway, I'll get this one posted. There aren't any new blooms, and there aren't going to be for some time now. I suspect that the next thing to actually open that's in bud is going to be one of the two Paphiopedilums up here. They're probably going to be the next thing to pop open. And I haven't seen any of those for a while. The ones that bloomed in the house last year, because I took my Paphiopedilums indoors to try and keep them warmer, which was a miserable failure because they lost their humidity. So this year they're having to put up with the cooler temperatures, and they don't seem to be minding too much. You have to excuse the scratching and noises on the roof. The birds are up there again. They keep picking bits of moss out of the gutter and throwing them on the roof, and sometimes they're quite large pieces. They do make you jump. Anyway, as I say, not much in the way of buds at the moment. There's quite a few Cattleyas that are, you know, pushing buds, but you know, they're still small at the moment. You know, they are coming on, but they're still small, so they're not due to open in the near future, shall we say. So I'll leave it at that for today. Oh, somebody did ask, how is that spike branch doing on the Psychopsis? Well, it's still growing. That's going to be silhouetted, I'm sure. So, but it's a nice bright green, and it is slowly moving on. So the branch looks like it's going to be successful. The plant doesn't look very successful, but it does have one single nice new growth pushing on. I'm going to have to be brave and repot that soon too. But I don't want to do it while we've got cold weather. It really was down to 12 degrees in here last night and the night before. We're having a little cold snap at the moment. You can still see the frost on the roof out there. It's a white roof. So yeah, we are having a cold snap. I think it's only about 3 degrees outside at the moment, centigrade obviously. So yeah, we've got to put up with these things, and you know, although I've got the brighter lights from the grow lights, which extends my day length, there's not a lot I can do about temperatures, but I do cheat. Once the house is warm in the morning, which took a bit longer today, simply because it's a lot colder outside, I open the door, and that borrows heat from the lounge area into here. So I can always raise my daytime temperature up a bit. And that differential between night and day is quite important. So once this door's been open a while, I should be able to get sort of 18, 19 degrees C out here, which is a good differential between 12 at night and, you know, sort of 18, 19 during the day. Yesterday, even though the air temperature outside was cold, we had a clear day. We had sunshine, and I actually got up to 22 out here. I actually had to put the humidifier on for the first time this year, but only for about half an hour. It quickly put the humidity up from what became a little low. It wasn't really low. It's a false impression, really. The amount of moisture in the air didn't change. It just didn't register as high because the temperature rose. That's all it is. But nonetheless, I added a bit in while the sun was out. I even put the big fan on to circulate the air and get that humidity round. And then literally about an hour later I shut it all down again because the sun went behind the tree. That did it in. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Just a quick one. And as I said, there've been some eagle-eyed spotters actually saw the splash of purple up behind the other plants. So that's it. That's what it looks like. First time it's bloomed for me. And this is traditionally a winter bloomer around Christmas time normally in the UK, but it can vary a bit, but it's normally a winter bloomer. So I doubt if there'll be any more buds on this now until this time next year, but by then I should have an awful lot more new growths on the plant, so maybe we'll get a bit more of a spectacle next year. But thanks for the gift. It's coming on, doing okay. And hopefully, excuse me, quite a lot more progression in the next growing season once it starts. I always think of March as the real start to the growing season. Day length increase quite dramatically in February, but once you get into about the first week, end of the first week in March, you're back up to that magic 11 hours of natural daylight, and that's when everything starts kicking off. So we'll see how we go. Thanks for dropping by, and see you next time.